Good morning. My name is Reverend Ed Tansey, and I, along with Reverend G. Stewart, welcome you, our Facebook Live family, to our Sunday talk this morning here. Coming to you from beautiful Cambridge, Massachusetts, and we are located, on 50 Dudley Street. So if you're ever in the area, please come by and visit us sometime. Both Rev G and I are the founding ministers of this wonderful community here called Centers for Spiritual Living, Greater Boston. And here at the center, what we do is that we learn and we practice that wonderful philosophy of science of mind, which is the study of life and the nature of the laws of thought. And it was Reverend Dr. Ernest Holmes who synthesized the science of mind after studying the many religions and science and philosophy. And he used from them what he thought would assist humanity to live that blissful life, that joy-filled life, that harmonious life. And I invite you to visit our website, cslboston.org, to find out more about our spiritual family here in Cambridge, this phenomenal philosophy that we study called the science of mind, and how our community can serve you. And we ask, if you are being spiritually fed by our message this morning, that you may include us in your prosperity circulation or tithing practice with your tax-deductible contributions that you can make right online by pushing that donate button. And we thank you. We thank you in advance of your continued support of our vision, our community's vision, fostering a world that works for all of creation. So welcome again. So the 2019 Center for Spiritual Living theme is spirituality in action. And June's theme is empowerment. I protect the vulnerable. And today's talk is translating heartbreak into action. Translating heartbreak into action. So, heartbreak, disappointment, pain, hurt, abuse, suffering, and bondage. Wow. These are all experiences. All experiences. They're all experiences that each and every one of us go through at times as we live this vibration called life. These are all human experiences that are real. They're very real on the human level. They really are. Remember, we are all spiritual beings here having human experiences. And I think at times one forgets that. Would you agree with me? Don't we at times forget that? I know that through my journey that I have forgotten that many times. You know, I let the so-called appearance of human reality separate me from my own divinity. I let that happen. And that's when I'm no longer in alignment with the God of my understanding. I am no longer in alignment with the divine. I am no longer in alignment with the universe at all. And when that happens, I so lose sight of the fact of my oneness with the divine, my oneness with God, my oneness with all of creation. Now, with no disrespect to the human experiences of the pain, of the heartbreak, of the hurts, etc., there is a higher reality to which all of this is not real. There really is. And Dr. Holmes said this in the following quote: "To that reality, bondage is not even an illusion or hallucination. There is a part of us that is never fooled. That is why, in the midst of the greatest trial, death, or any human suffering, something rises from within and says with Job, though I die, yet I shall live. Though I die, yet I shall live. Deep down, deep down, I think that each of us, for each of us, there is something within, even when we're in that like deep separation from the divine, that may be shadowed by the pulls of life, the challenges that one encounters as one goes along their path. There is a knowing. There is a knowing of that oneness. There really is. There is a knowing of that divinity within each of us. A knowing of the truths. A knowing of who and whose we are. There really is. You know, it's always amazed me. It's always amazed me that when I get caught up in that sense of separation, the reality of the human experiences of life, the humanness of life, whatever you want to call it, if it wasn't for my spiritual practices, people, I could really go down that rabbit hole. I mean, really go down that rabbit hole. And I have done so. I've so done that so many times. I have done it too many times as I lived my life. But good news, good news. I'm doing less and less as I become more and more rooted in my spiritual practices. They are so important. As I become more rooted in the truth, more rooted in the science of mind philosophy, more rooted in the knowing of who and whose I am, and knowing what oneness means. And not only knowing it, but here's the thing, embodying all that oneness means. You know, and we know that there are such wonderful practices that we can use that help us keep us in alignment. Spiritual mind treatment, meditation, journaling, visioning, taking walks, whatever it may be. There are so many things that we can do. But it's imperative that we do them regularly, daily. Would people who do agree with that? Isn't your day so different when you begin it with spiritual practices? Definitely. And it can go so easily out of control when we don't do them. I know that's for me. I know that happens for me. So I further believe that the world is really starting to understand more and more that it's learned all it needs to learn through the suffering and through the pain. I really believe that. And I'm going to quote this from Science of Mind. Surely there can be no intelligence in the universe that wishes man to be sick, suffer pain, be unhappy, and end in oblivion. Surely if God or universal intelligence is imbued with goodness, then it could not ordain that man should ultimately be other than a perfect expression of life. Take that in for a moment. Take that in for a moment. And one thing I want to say with Dr. Holmes's writing and the writing in the Science of Mind, that we, and I'm really glad that the organization kept it in his exact words. These were the wordings of his time. So he's by any means he's not a sexist. He means everyone. Okay, and that time that's what was used. So he's all inclusive. Believe me when I tell you that. But sometimes if you're not really familiar with Ernest Holmes and the philosophy, and you hear how it's written, you might think that. So I just want to kind of throw that at you to keep in mind if you're new at this, or you're just pondering into it lightly, okay, the philosophy. So knowing that the universal intelligence, God, the creative energy, the light energy, whatever you want to call it, knows nothing other than goodness, anything other than that is the human experience getting in the way of the spiritual experience. Really, as it attempts to pull each of us from our nature, which is the same nature as that of God, because we are one with it, and of whose and whose we are. Remember, that nature that has been God-given is never lost. It can never be taken away from us, or it can never be given up. And we forget that at times. We forget that we are the creation of the one Creator, and that our nature has been given by God to us. It's who and whose we are at our core. The love, the peace, the compassion, the kindness, the creativity, the intelligence, the wisdom. That's what God gave us as being its creations. We can't even give it away. And surely we can't go buy it at a store, because it's within us, and it all begins from within. So God only wants the greatness and all of the goodness for each of its creations. For each of us. Nothing other than the perfect expressions of life is what the divine knows. And that is the foundation of existence. Good and only good. Trust me, that is the foundation. Regardless of appearances. Regardless of appearances. And I think it behooves us to realize that anything other than that good doesn't come from the divine. It doesn't come from God. It comes from the separation of the individual from God at the different times in their lives. For the people studying this, do you agree with this?
Yes.
It's so important, and so helps one when they understand this, I believe. I really do. So, when I look back at my life, or even, anyone's life in general, I look back, something that really, really sticks out for me is this. There are some people who are so able to get through their heartbreaks, to get through their hurts, to get through their disappointments, etc. And from them, they use their creative abilities in ways they never thought possible, and open their minds, and they're receptive to all of the infinite possibilities that are in the quantum energy field that are ours to pick at our choice. And I feel they open, and they are open to learn and receive all they need to know from each of those situations. You have that kind of person. Yet, on the other side of the coin, there are some people who are so unable to get through their past hurts and abuses, and they continue to tell their story over and over and over and over again. They're being stuck in their story. Stuck in their story. And let's face it, people, being stuck in those types of stories does a person absolutely no good. These individuals, the repeaters of their stories, the ones who stay stuck in the experience, really what they're doing is they're becoming victims. Victims of their own doing, their own thinking, their own behavior. Victims of allowing the human experience to set their vibration. Kind of puts it all on the individual, doesn't it? Now, I hope that doesn't scare some people, but that's the truth. That is the truth. In those individuals now who are able to put those pains and heartbreaks behind them, it is they who develop an inner strength and wisdom because of their experiences, which therefore enables them to step into action in a very positive way. These people are the victors. These people are the empowered ones. They really are. And you know what? Everybody can do that. Really, everybody can do that. Now, I've shared this statement many times at the prison where I do my work also, and also here at the center. And here's what I share. It's becoming, it's so amazing how many times the prisons will say that to each other. And here's what they say. In the world, we have thermometers and we have thermostats. All right? People who are caught up in the human experience of life and stay stuck in those stories, they are thermometers. They are the individuals who can't get past that. And they let that energy of all of the hurts and the disappointments dictate and keep them in restriction, keep them in bondage. Okay? Those are the thermometers. The people who are able to put all of that behind them and create new experience for themselves in a more positive way, they're the ones, like I said, that break through the chains of bondage, the chains of restriction. They themselves are setting the vibrational energy that they want to experience in their lives, the energy that they want to manifest in their experiences while they live here in this wonderful journey. And it is a wonderful journey, if you so choose it to be. So the question that I pose to you is this. What do you want to be in life? Do you want to be a thermometer? Or do you want to be a thermostat? It's totally up to you. Because God gave us choice. God gave us choice. And I ask you to remember who and whose you are. A creation of the Creator. I want you to remember that each and every one of us has the ability to create the life we so choose because of that wonderful gift of choice that God gave each and every one of us. And it really depends on one's perception, one's thinking, one's knowing, and one's embodiment of truth principles. So for me, I'm telling you this, I'm perceiving that all of the times that heartbreak, disappointment, pain and hurt, etc., suffering, challenging times, and some of you in the community know some of the challenging health experiences that I had the appearance of going through, and if it wasn't for this philosophy, I don't think I'd be standing here today, okay, that for me, all that I have learned from it, and me being the thermostat, me being able to step into action, step into that positive, uplifting, and vibrational energy that I want, it has enabled me to live that perfect expression of life that is mine to live because of who and whose I am. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend. He was preaching today, wasn't he? Woo, child. I'm like, whoa. Like, can I get an amen to that? Yes, absolutely. So, and Reverend, really, you really spoke to a lot of those things about translating heartbreak into action, which is what this talk is about today. So what I want to do for you here today is I want to talk to you about, number one, our monthly theme and where it came from, because it's always good to remember what all these things came. I mean, somebody has created this entire program for us so that we can just follow the steps in order to help each of us expand and grow. And this whole month, of course, being about empowerment. Thank you. Yes, empowerment. So, I want to talk about these things because I think they're important. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is our monthly theme. Then I want to share and look at the quote of the month from the book of the month, because we have a book of the month every month that we're looking at. And this month, the book of the month is The New Republic of the Heart by Terry Patton. And then lastly, I want to offer us a brief experiential to translate heartbreak into action. Anybody up for that?
Yes.
Yeah, right? Because we always need that. That's always a good thing. All right, well, that sounds good. So let's get started. What I want to start with is our monthly theme and where it came from, So it came from the Prophetic Justice Principles by Reverend Dr. James A. Forbes, Jr. And he's from Riverside Church in New York. And he came up with these 5 these prophetic justice principles years ago. And he said that, we want to protect the vulnerable. Is the policy good for the children, the elderly, and the disadvantaged? Does it show sensitivity to the spirit of the Golden Rule? Right? The Golden Rule, and I think most of us know the Golden Rule, do unto others as you'd have them do to you, which those of you who have actually been in Beyond Limits, we go through that whole list of all the different teachings and the different religious organizations that have a similar teaching and understanding of that. Now he in this case was speaking of a government policy, but this could be true of any organization. Would you agree?
Yes.
That I need to look at that? So empowerment and protecting the vulnerable really goes hand in hand with our teaching. Would you agree? It really does. So, then from this month's book, we have from the book, the New Republic of the Heart, Terry Patton talks about the first part of our monthly theme, which is the empowerment piece. Ultimate empowerment is fueling and strengthening another's ability to trust in an ever-existing intelligence. Does that sound familiar? An ever-existing intelligence? What do we talk about here? The divine, the infinite, the universal. So he's talking about that. The distinction between constantly seeking and solidly recognizing or trusting is the distinction between presuming something is lacking. Been there, done that, right? Thus working at getting something, because we got to get it if we're lacking it, right? And then it goes on to say, to an engaged practice of reenacting wholeness in our entire affairs. That's what it's about. That's what we're talking about here, is getting ourselves back into alignment, back into the recognition that there is a wholeness that is beyond anything that we can fully understand on our human level sometimes. Would you agree? The divine wholeness. And to know that that divine wholeness is always there, even in our heartbreak or our separation. It's still there. It's still available to us, but we've forgotten it. Would you agree?
Yes.
When I'm in that place, when I'm in my pity pot, anybody been in their pity pot? Not recently. I've decided I'm not getting into my pity pot as much as I used to. Decided I am all set with the pity pot. It doesn't work for me. So, and it doesn't work for anybody around me either. So what's the point, right? But it's to realize that this divine wholeness is in everything, and we can realize that we can draw upon that at any time. Isn't that a great idea? To draw on that first. Now granted, sometimes we have to stumble in order to remember that, and that's okay. But what do we do around here? We empower each other, do we not? We come together to remind each other that guess what? You're perfect, whole, and complete. Despite all that garbage that you may have been told, or you have believed about yourself, or you have accepted that others told you about yourself, which we know is not true. We know that we are perfect, whole, and complete at all times. And so it's getting back into that place. That's what Rev Ed was speaking about. So when we talk about this idea of translating heartbreak into action, I want to give you an experiential. You guys up for that? I love experientials. They're always so much fun. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to get comfortable in your seats. Just chair to fully and completely support you. And then let's just take a deep breath. And as we take this deep breath, when you release, close your eyes if you're comfortable. So just take a deep breath. And exhale. And take another deep breath. Respiriting the body and release. Relaxing. And taking one more deep breath in. And just letting go. In this place of relaxation, I want you to allow your mind to go back to an experience that brought you heartbreak. Just feel the experience, but know that you are completely safe as you allow this heartbreak to come back up in your consciousness. The divine wholeness is holding you in this experience. Just let those feelings come up, but let them come up as though you are looking at them from a distance. Looking at them from a distance. Now just imagine that your heart is breaking open. And in this breaking open, you're inviting in new possibilities in this experience. Letting your heart break open and inviting in new possibilities. And listen for the divine wholeness, for the still small voice that is now offering you a new way to look at this situation or this experience of heartbreak. Hearing this still small voice, now allow this guidance to offer you action steps to move forward and through this experience, through this heartbreak. Knowing you are surrounded by divine love, and it is empowering you in this action. Simply trust. Trust. Trust and know. Now as you're ready, allow your consciousness to rise up and return back into the room as you are ready, taking a deep breath to re-spirit the body. And as you're ready, you can allow your eyes to gently open. Fully present So I want to share a quote with you that I was just moved because I love to watch old movies every so often. That's not that old a movie, but it's a fairly old movie. But I like to watch every so often, and they always remind me of things that I need to remember. And I just love this quote. And this quote actually comes from the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. And it comes from Sunny Kapoor. And this is a statement that he makes, and I love this. Everything will be all right in the end. And if it is not all right, then trust me, it's not yet the end. That's powerful when you think about it. I get God bumps just saying it. So everything will be all right in the end. And if it is not all right, then trust me, it is not yet the end. I love how he says it with this little Indie accent, you know? But that's what it's about. Trusting that it's not yet the end. And it'll all be all right. Always, always it will be all right. Trust that. Namaste.
To the time in our service for prayer, for our affirmative prayer, which we call spiritual mind treatment. If each one would like to get comfortable, whatever that feels to you, just relax in your chair and let all the energy from the day just dissipate and in and through it all around you. Close your eyes, open your heart space. And as we have our eyes closed or open with our arms and hands open, may each one here fully feel the energy in the room. Is that His Spirit moving? Notice your breath breathing you, which is God in that. And the peace in the room. And imagine a white light all and through the room and all around you as His Spirit's loving touch of protection and guidance, reminding you of wholeness. And as I move forward in treatment, I speak my word today, knowing the power in it and of it, that each one here has the power of choice, that each one here is free. I declare and proclaim with the power of my word that each one, with an ever-evolving consciousness and faith in God, knowing that your spirit is free, free to choose, free to be and free to feel, and free to be guided by the still small voice, which is God within. And with that purpose in mind, with that declaration of faith, I know that God is love, that God is truth, and that God is real. That this God, who I also call Spirit, is in and through all of creation. That this mighty force, this divine creator, has chosen to create with a purpose. Is a spirit free and clear and true. Is infinite love, infinite wisdom, infinite guidance, infinite health, abundance, clarity. That spirit is infinite peace. And knowing the truth of spirit, the infinite vast nature that has created the stars and the moon, that has created the ocean, that has created air and fire and water, and each one here in this room, knowing the power of thought, knowing the power of the word of spirit and its creative force, and knowing that this spirit, this God, has created everything in perfection, everything working at its highest order for the best good and outcomes. Knowing that Spirit is the miracle in all things, is the guidebook in all things, is the instruction book of all things. Perfect wholeness, divine wonderment, and right action. And I know I'm one with this force. I'm no other than one with this divine presence, this energy, this light of truth. And I'm one with this creator, this manifester, this architect of the universe. And as I'm one with this beautiful being, I know that I have the powers in it and through it and of it, the divine powers to create, to know, to be guided by the still small voice, by energetic feelings, by intuition, by love, by energy, by thought. I know I am one with the thought of God. I'm one with this divine mind. I'm one with this one heart. I'm one with the vastness of the universe, the infinity of the universe. And I'm one with the one power, the power that chooses, the power that is free. I know I am one with this, and I am free. My spirit is free, and it has always been free. Free to choose my word, free to choose to listen to what the spirit within desires, without judgment. I know I'm one with this, and this is true for each one here in this room, in the here and now. Each one here is one with this divine creator, this power, this presence. The presence of spirit is in and through each one, guiding through every life experience, through every interaction, relationship, every step, every breath, every heartbeat. Each one here is one with the heart of God, one with the mind of God. Each one here is divinely perfect, whole, and complete, with a consciousness meant in this incarnation to fully grow and evolve in divine essence and truth of your being. And declaring and proclaiming this, I know that life is to be trusted. I know that each one here, fully orbed in divine perfection and wholeness, is ever evolving in the consciousness of spirit, to embrace your essence, to embrace the essence of divine, of the divinity of your truth, that you have the power, that each one here has the power to create, to choose a life guided by the spirit within. No appearance of lack, of pain, of separation can change the truth of the divine essence of each one here. Each one with the power to choose, with the intuition to guide, is guided by God. With each breath, with each intuitive hit, with each relationship, with each experience in the workplace and family and in life, each one here is guided in faith to trust that God is all there is, and all things have already been fully orbed in the mind of God. Each one here embraces the power of choice without judgment, without fear, without worry. Each one here embraces the truth of the spirit within, the freedom. And each one proclaims the good, shows up, not knowing, listens deeply, makes decisions out of love and not fear, knowing that life is God ordained. And I'm grateful for this truth. I'm grateful for knowing the essence of each one, that there are no mistakes. I'm grateful for knowing that each one was given the power through thought, word, and intention to create. I'm grateful for knowing that each one has been given the power to choose a life that reflects the spirit within. And I'm grateful knowing the power of freedom that lies within each one. Knowing that God is love and God makes the way straight and law makes all things possible. I am grateful for knowing this. And I release my word into the action of divine law, knowing that it is all good and it is all God. I release my word knowing the spiritual truth, the wholeness, the divine perfection, and the essence of each one here. I release my word feeling the power of choice, knowing the truth of freedom, and knowing that demonstration and manifestation is the birthright of each one. I release my word and say, blessed be, thank you, and together we say, and so it is.
We are truly prayed up. Thank you. You pray good.
Yay, Liza.
Yay, Liza. Yes, indeed. Thank you. So let's join together in our affirmation. This actually comes to us from Reverend Sonny Cantrell Smith from Agave Center for Spiritual Living. So let's read this together. Today, the divine as me fully embraces the human as me. Ooh, that's a good one, right? Let's say that again. Today, the divine as me fully embraces the human as me. Yes.
And so it
And
is.
so it is.